What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Aljamain Sterling's advice for Sean O'Malley for the Petr Yan UFC 280 clash. Bantamweight champion Aljamain Sterling is very familiar with former champion Petr Yan. The two met in the octagon twice, once in early 2021 that ended in a disqualification of Yan for an illegal knee strike on Sterling, and again earlier this year in the rematch, a title unification fight for the bantamweight belt that saw Sterling utilize more of his grappling prowess on his way to a split decision win over the Russian. The victory solidified Sterling's grasp on the bantamweight belt as he gets set to face another former champion in TJ Dillashaw at UFC 280 in Abu Dhabi this October. The fight is on the same card as the highly anticipated Petr Yan-Sean O'Malley fight that has a lot of people intrigued. Yan will now be O'Malley's toughest opponent in his career, and certainly the highest rated. Yan remains one of the most dangerous fighters at 135 pounds on the planet, while O'Malley is one of the most exciting fighters in the division and a huge fan favorite. Given that this will be a striker's delight on account of each fighter's abilities on the feet, Sterling feels that O'Malley has a chance against Yan, but if he does a few things. In a recent interview with the Schmo, this is what Sterling stated that O'Malley could do in the fight to give himself a better chance to win.
If there's a piece of advice I could give to O'Malley, it's footwork. Frustrates Yan. He has a hard time tracking guys down who have good footwork and not just going to stand in front of him waiting for the kill shot, and using his range. And try not to get hit to the body because I think he's a little frail and a little soft and around the midsection. So try not to let Yan catch you one of those straights because I'm telling you, it don't feel too good.
It's unclear what hangs in the balance for the winner in terms of potential title shot implications, but a win for O'Malley would certainly shoot him into the top 5 of the bantamweight rankings and shorten his journey to a potential title shot. Meanwhile, Yan would have the chance to put a stop to the Sugar Show if he's able to put away O'Malley before the closing bell. What do you think about Sterling's comments here? Gilbert Burns says Conor McGregor doesn't need to come to welterweight amid retirement rumors. We last saw Conor McGregor lose to Dustin Poirier in their trilogy fight in July of last year, after McGregor broke his leg in the contest. It's been a year since then, and the long-awaited return of the Notorious One has yet to take place, but McGregor himself has been hinting that he wants to come back and fight in the 170-pound division, as opposed to the 155-pound division, of which he had once been champion. While McGregor is still preparing and healing for his return to the octagon, top 5 welterweight Gilbert Burns believes that McGregor needs to inspect his head and his heart because he doesn't want any of this smoke. Burns was candid in a recent interview with MMA Fighting about McGregor fighting at welterweight and feels that the Irishman is simply going to get handled at that weight class. Case in point, this is what Burns stated. He's not a welterweight, but if he wants to fight at welterweight, I'd love to beat the Conor. I think he's not going to take that punch. I'm not even talking about grappling because that's not fair. I'd just take him down and maul him, but a fight with Conor, it's a win-win for me. I'm going to beat him up and I'm going to get a ton of crazy money. Burns goes on to talk about how McGregor wouldn't be able to hang with anyone in the top 5 of the 170-pound division, from champion Kamaru Usman to number 5 Belal Muhammad, and everyone in between. He feels that McGregor should stay at 155 pounds, especially given his recent record. McGregor has lost 3 of his last 4 fights dating back to 2018 and simply hasn't been as active as many of his contemporaries recently on account of his injury. The 34-year-old McGregor recently made waves when it was announced that he'll join the cast of the reboot of Roadhouse, a remake of the acclaimed 1989 classic film. But he also sparked a few retirement rumors with this tweet: "MMA, I'll never forget you. Easy work." Then he posted a photo of him versus Nate Diaz with a tweet that stated, "Throwback to me versus Gabriel Gonzaga in Japan. I can't believe I'm about to hit Hollywood. I will do you all proud." And finally, he posted a series of photos of him with Arnold Schwarzenegger. "I'll be back. For the sake of humankind, I must return. Happy birthday, my man, Schwarzenegger. Hope you and H are proud of my recovery/work and my latest move on the board. Fun times ahead. Bring it." Fans only started to ask him if he's already thinking of retiring, while other MMA fighters had previously stated that McGregor could retire given how much money he's already made. What do you think about Burns' warning to McGregor? And what do you think about those tweets? DC is all in on Dan Hooker's call-out of Tony Ferguson. Could we see Dan Hooker and Tony Ferguson in the cage? Hooker recently called out Ferguson to meet in the octagon, The Kiwi believes that Ferguson is the perfect opponent, especially whenever El Cucuy returns from action. We last saw Ferguson get knocked out by Michael Chandler by a front kick to the face in the second round at UFC 274. It was only the latest in a 4-fight losing streak for Ferguson, which dates back to May 2020. He's dropped fights against the likes of Charles Oliveira, Beneil Dariush, Justin Gaethje, and Chandler. Meanwhile, Hooker has lost 4 of his last 5 fights in that same span, with his lone win coming against Nasrat Haqparast at UFC 266 in September 2021. It stands to reason that these guys, who are on a bit of a skid in their careers and have dropped out of the top 5 of the lightweight rankings, could be matched up together whenever Ferguson is able to return to the cage. One guy who loves the idea of these two fighting each other is Daniel Cormier. Case in point, this is what Cormier stated in a recent episode of the DC and RC podcast.
I'm at a point now where I don't need to see Tony Ferguson fighting guys like Michael Chandler, Justin Gaethje, and those dudes. And I'm also at a point where I don't need to see Dan Hooker in there with those high-level guys anymore. Let them fight each other. It's the same thing that we felt when we saw Lozon versus Cowboy.
Ferguson is a former title challenger, while Hooker was a top 5 lightweight. The two haven't met in the octagon and have enough name recognition that a fight of this caliber could be something that the fans would want to see. What do you think? Do you agree with DC here and want to see this fight? Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the MMA Zone to stay up to date on all the latest fight news. Jordan Leavitt says Paddy didn't give a proper teabag. In the lead up to the UFC London event a few weeks ago, Paddy the Baddy made it known he was looking to not only finish Jordan Leavitt in their lightweight clash at the O2 Arena, but teabag the man at the end of it. He wanted to counter Leavitt's plans of twerking after the fight with a teabag and placing his stuff or junk onto Leavitt. Well, fight week has come and gone, and Paddy choked out Leavitt in the second round with a rear naked choke. Once the tap came and the referee separated the fighters, Paddy dropped down and people started calling it a teabag. Leavitt begs to differ. Case in point, this is what the Monkey King stated in a recent appearance on MMA Holes.
Pretty far away. That was pretty PG teabag, to be fair. So I'm appreciative. I didn't want the teabag,
Yeah.
I didn't want that. But it wasn't quite a teabag. That was more of like a drop it down low kind of thing.
What do you make of his comments? Statement from Madison Square Garden execs on Jake Paul Rahman Jr. ticket sales. With about a week to go before the boxing match between Jake Paul and Hasim Rahman Jr., the fight was canceled, and both sides started pointing fingers at the other. Rahman Jr. stated that Jake Paul's team were playing games with the weight call-outs, accusing them of constantly moving the goalposts. Jake Paul's team asserts that Rahman Jr. simply couldn't make the weight and was unable to hold up his side of the contract agreement. When asked his opinion on the matter, UFC President Dana White, who is no fan of Jake Paul, stated he feels the organizers at MVP, Jake Paul's management team, pulled the plug on the event because of low ticket sales and insinuated that the cost of putting the event together far exceeded what profit they would have generated. Well, days after White made those comments, a statement was issued from MSG executives denying those claims and said that the cancellation had nothing to do with the amount of tickets sold. This is what they stated. To be clear, sales were strong heading into fight week. The cancellation was not based on ticket sales. This fight was projected to be in the top 10 of highest grossing boxing events at MSG in the past 15 years. MVP has been great partners and we're looking forward to working with them again soon. MSG went on to hype up the relationship between them and MVP, as well as the previous event in April, a boxing match between Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor. The fight had been only put together about a month ahead of the event after Tommy Fury, Paul's original opponent, cited visa issues as the reason he had to withdraw from the fight. Fans were clamoring to see Paul fight a real boxer in Rahman Jr., who had sparred with Paul on occasion, helping him prepare for previous fights. Jake Paul has stated his willingness to return to action this year. What do you make of MSG's statements here? Today's video was packed with some juicy stories from the fight world. What are your thoughts about what's going on in MMA? Don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on all the latest news from the MMA Zone. See you next time.